Hey guys, welcome back. Today was a great day because I got the chance to demo a 2016 Ibis Ripley LS. So the bike I rode was the X01 Works build, which has a Fox 34 fork at 130 mil, a SRAM 11-speed X01 drivetrain. The bike also had carbon Ibis wheels shod with some pretty beefy looking knobby Nick tires. I gotta say, I was really excited to ride this bike. If you're in the market for a short travel 29er, this is probably on your short list for good reason too. So let's start with climbing. So the Ripley LS checks all of the boxes for a great climbing bike. It has a terrific pedaling platform, yet still remains active for really good traction in the rear end. I rode this bike up Ridgeline Trail in Santa Teresa, which is not necessarily steep, but has some pretty tricky technical sections, as you can see in this video here. I was able to make it all the way up without having to put a foot down, which is more than I can say with some of the other bikes that I rode that day. However, something to keep in mind if you're considering this bike, while I was able to make it all the way up Ridgeline without stopping, I did smack quite a few pedals. The bottom bracket on this bike is pretty low, I think under 13 inches, and you know, after a while, you're able to time your cadence a little to avoid them. Not a deal breaker by any means, but just something to keep in mind. So, considering how well the Ripley climbed, I kind of expected it to be a little sketchy on the downhills, and boy, was I wrong. After climbing up Ridgeline, I turned around and rode straight down. And one of the things I noticed immediately on the descent is how, like, poppy and playful this bike really feels. I think the Ripley is one of those bikes that just makes a terrific first impressions. And some of you guys know what I'm talking about here. I've written some bikes that really don't kind of come alive until you're pushing pretty hard. But the Ripley was fun almost immediately, and it was able to soak up even the larger hits without feeling harsh, which surprised me quite a bit considering it only had about 120 mil of travel in the rear. I wasn't sure of the PSI that the Ibis tech set me up with, but I made sure to keep the fork and shock fully open, and I set the low speed compression on the shock to 1, or the softest setting, and never really touched it. At the end of the ride, I noticed I was using almost all of the suspension front and back, and it didn't really hit any big hits, so that kind of told me it was set up rather soft. Alright, some of you may be wondering how this bike compared to the Yeti SB 4.5C, since they're both considered short travel 29ers. Just to give you some background, my personal bike is a Yeti SB5C, which I've been riding for a little over a year now. I thought the SB 4.5 rode a little bit sportier, so the pedaling platform was even stiffer than the Ripley. So if you prefer that sort of riding characteristic, you'll probably consider the Yeti the better climber. On the downhills, I thought both bikes were extremely capable. However, as the bikes were configured that day, the Ripley was able to take the edge off the harder hits slightly better than the Yeti. In the end, both bikes are very, very good, and if you held a gun to my head and made me pick, I'd say the Ripley was the most fun bike I rode that day. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this review. Make sure to like and subscribe. I have a couple more bike reviews coming up, so I'll see you then. Take care.